They say every perfect neighborhood has one family that thinks they're above the rules. In Maple Grove Estates, that family was the Wilsons. And the day their golden boy Tyler was arrested in broad daylight with half the neighborhood watching, and his mother screaming like a banshee, I knew justice had finally come to our two perfect little streets. Karen Wilson was impossible to miss. She stood on her front lawn, her HOA president badge gleaming like some kind of sheriff's star, barking at Officer Martinez like he was a waiter who got her order wrong. "You can't do this. I run this neighborhood. I know you're captain," she shrieked, her perfectly pressed blazer flapping as she pointed an accusatory finger. But it was Tyler's reaction that stuck with me, 17 years old, cuffed, being shoved into a squad car, and he still had that arrogant grin like this was all just a big misunderstanding. "This is all a mistake," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "My mom will have me out in an hour." For a long time, people were scared to speak up. But that afternoon, you could see the curtain peaks, the half-open front doors, the quiet nods. The Wilson reign was finally collapsing. But to understand how we got here, I have to take you back a few weeks, to when I first moved in. I had just bought a place on Elm Street. Proud new homeowner, completely unaware of the quiet war being waged behind those white picket fences. Everything looked like a postcard, manicured lawns, identical mailboxes, a sense of order so tight it practically squeaked. There were HOA rules posted on every corner like holy scripture. At first, I thought I'd landed in suburban heaven. Then my packages started disappearing. The first time, I thought it was a delivery error. The second time, I blamed porch pirates from outside the community. By the third time, I knew something was off. The tracking said, delivered, but nothing was there. I started asking around, just casually. Mrs. Chen, who lived next door, was clipping her roses when I approached her. As soon as I mentioned the missing packages, she froze. Her eyes darted toward the Wilson house at the end of the street. "You should really check with the Wilson boy," she said in a hushed tone. "I've seen him walking around the neighborhood. Too much, if you ask me." She wouldn't say more, but the message was loud and clear. That evening, I ordered a doorbell camera. 2 days later, I had my answer. The footage was so blatant it felt like a prank. Tyler Wilson, wearing flip-flops and a smug expression, casually walking up my front steps in broad daylight, snatching my package like it was his own. He even whistled while walking off. I watched the clip over and over, getting angrier each time. This wasn't desperation. This was entitlement. I marched to the Wilson house with the video on my phone, assuming this would be a straightforward conversation. Karen opened the door in a crisp navy blazer and that smug smile I'd come to recognize. "Well, hello, new neighbor," she said in that overly polite tone people use right before they stab you in the back. When I showed her the footage, her face didn't register surprise, just annoyance. "That's quite an accusation," she said, her voice dropping low. "And frankly, I find it insulting that you'd come to my home making wild claims about my son." I tried to stay calm. I pointed out the video showed Tyler clearly, and all I wanted was the theft to stop. But Karen's face hardened. She crossed her arms like a judge handing down a sentence. "Tyler is an honor student and captain of the debate team. He would never stoop to petty theft," she said, her voice sharp with practiced authority. "Perhaps you should look more carefully at your delivery confirmation emails before spreading misinformation." Then came the threat. It was buried in polite HOA language, but it was there. "As HOA president, I take false accusations very seriously," she said. "Especially against outstanding young people like my son. Choose your battles wisely in this neighborhood." And then, the thefts escalated. Packages went missing in broad daylight. Tyler started waving at my camera like he was filming a reality show. One day, I caught him walking off with my neighbor's Amazon box. "Hey mister," he called out as I stood on my porch. "My mom runs this whole neighborhood. I'm basically untouchable. Maybe you should move if you don't like how things work around here. That's when I realized, this wasn't about a kid stealing stuff. It was about a mother who let her son act like a prince because she thought she was queen, and everyone else, peasants. I started talking to more neighbors. Quietly. The Hendersons had lost 4 packages in a month. The Johnsons never received their daughter's birthday present. Even Mr. Peterson, who was 78 and relied on delivery for his medications, had prescriptions disappear. Everyone suspected Tyler, but no one had dared to speak up. Karen can make your life hell, Mrs. Chen told me. Last year she tried to fine the Smiths $500 because their grass was half an inch over regulation height. So, I formed a plan. 6 of us banded together. We set up cameras, organized a group chat, and started tracking Tyler's movements. Within 3 days, we had multiple angles of him stealing packages across the neighborhood. Same hoodie. Same smirk. Same lack of shame. This was no isolated incident. This was a pattern. Armed with evidence, we called for an HOA board meeting. Karen scheduled it at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, right when most people were at work. Only 3 board members showed up, all close friends of hers. I presented the videos, the timeline, the witness statements. Karen barely glanced at them. These videos are obviously doctored, she said without hesitation. This is nothing more than a personal vendetta by residents who don't appreciate the standards I maintain in this community. When I tried to play one of the clear clips, she cut me off. That's inadmissible, she said. And further harassment will result in fines. The meeting was a joke, but it taught me something important. Karen had rigged the system. If I wanted to stop this, I'd have to go outside it. That night, I took everything to the police. Detective Sarah Martinez sat with me for over an hour. She watched every video, read every statement, and nodded slowly. This is actually pretty impressive police work, she said. You've got timestamps, multiple camera angles, consistent MO. We can definitely do something with this. Things moved fast. Within 48 hours, Detective Martinez had spoken to several neighbors and gathered enough evidence to pursue charges. She also discovered Tyler had been selling some of the stolen items online, which elevated the charges to organized retail crime. We'll be arresting him after school tomorrow, she told me. And based on what we have, the prosecution is solid. I happened to be raking leaves when the patrol cars rolled up to the Wilson house. Tyler was just getting off the school bus. He froze when he saw the flashing lights. Karen came running out of the house, demanding answers. This is harassment, she shrieked. Do you know who I am? I'll have your badge. Officer Martinez didn't even flinch. Ma'am, your son is being arrested on multiple counts of theft, trafficking in stolen property, and organized retail crime. Karen's face went pale. Tyler was read his rights and placed in the back of the car. He didn't look quite so smug then. That night, the neighborhood came alive. People who'd lived in fear of Karen were suddenly talking, sharing stories, laughing openly. Mrs. Peterson started a petition to remove Karen from the HOA board. Within 24 hours, 80% of residents had signed it. The floodgates opened. Story after story came out, illegal fines, harassment, threats. Turns out Karen had used her HOA title to bully people for years. But now, no one was afraid of her anymore. Tyler pled guilty to avoid a trial. With the mountain of evidence, he had no choice. The judge sentenced him to 6 months in juvenile detention, 2 years probation, and ordered him to repay over $3,000 in restitution. He also had to complete community service focused on theft prevention, talking to other teens about the consequences of stealing. Karen made one last plea in court, sobbing about her son's bright future. But the judge didn't budge. Actions have consequences, she said. And no title, HOA president or otherwise, places you above the law. And that's how the Wilsons went from rulers of Maple Grove to cautionary tales. Sometimes, it takes a community to stand up to entitlement. And sometimes, the fall from power is even more satisfying than justice itself. If you love watching arrogant rule-breakers finally get what they deserve and want more real neighborhood drama like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, the fences may be white, but the secrets are darker than you think.